All right, guys, I'm just going to run through the basics of the three scenarios, just so we know. So Sunday, if we set up 2x3 tables in one long ass row with 6 chairs there, it's literally just a case then that we could play musical chairs between games 1 and 2, because we'll already know which scenario we're going to be playing. Okay, but I'm just going to go through what the three scenarios are first before people, challengers start picking them and stuff like that in a later video. Right, so the first scenario, claim no man's land. Now, as you can see, the deployment is pretty much what people have done every time. So you get your first 12 inches of the table with 2 feet in the middle, and again 12 inches for the other side. There's no attacker and defender as such as this. It's pretty much as close to what we've been doing. The exception is at these 5 locations, so 6 inches from deployment zone, 6 inches from table edge, so basically a foot apart, we would have these 5 areas. Now, what that means is these 5 areas are actually going to be buildings. So ideally at least 3 corner pieces, if we don't have whole buildings, or 4 corner pieces, just have to be built. They don't have to be perfectly there. I mean, for example, a building could be there, it could be there, so long as each one of these markers would be within that, each one of these points. This is a very straightforward game. It's 4 turns, and it's all about capturing land. So you're getting, at the end of each turn, there'll be victory points. If you're within an inch of the outside of a building, you'll gain a basic one. You'll get more if you're actually occupying the building. But again, buildings can be contested as other people go in. So this is a very straightforward take and capture scenario for scenario 1. Then scenario 2. Okay. Now, for this table, what we'll probably do, I'll use the trenches that I've been making at home. I'll bring them in for this game. I've also got some counters for these 6. This is basically the relic hunt scenario. And what this has is, it starts with 6 of these relics. Okay. Now, as far as terrains go, like I said, we'll use normal trenches terrain, whatever, and we'll get these 6. But these disappear. So what happens is, if you get someone up to one of these counters, I have the counters. They're basically squares with a cross on either side. So they'll all have green crosses on. If you make a successful action and base contact, you'll flick it to red. So as each one goes and gets captured on turn 1, they'll then flip over, and to be red, they can't be captured. Then at the end of the turn, we're going to remove 2 of the relics. Will completely disappear. It'll say in the scenario instructions which 2 is basically diagonally 2 will disappear, and all the others will be flipped over and can be recaptured again on that turn. Then turn 3, the other corners are, and you're literally just left with the 2 in the middle that can be captured each time. Okay. And that will be the case for turn 3, and then on turn 4 they're worth double 2 VP instead of just the 1 for the last turn. As far as the game length is, again, it's a 4 turn game using those counters. Now your warband is restricted. Unlike playing No Man's Land, where you could have your full warbands, on this one you are only allowed up to 6 miniatures, and you are not allowed them on 40mm or larger bases in that initial 6 miniatures. The only exception to that is if your warband has to have that many. For example, Sarah's court only has 2 different models that can lead it, and you have to have a leader. And therefore, both her leaders are on 50mm bases, so she will have 1 on there. But unless you've got a leader, he has to be the only person that can lead that game on a larger base. Nothing, so no heavy mechs, no communicants or anything like that, or anything bigger for turn 1. Then on turn 2, at the start of that, both players get D3 reinforcements, and then you can have, so that's where your big bases can come in there for turn 2. Apart from that, there is no morale checks in this scenario. So there is literally no running, no guys getting broken and running away. You don't need to worry about morale checks. You're going to sort of play this one out. And that's how Relic Hunt will work. And the third scenario is, again, a very straightforward 12 inches of deployment, 2 feet in the middle, 12 inches of deployment, set up like all our other previous games at the club have been. This is just a very standard one, supply raid. Now, what we'll need for this is 6 objective markers. I do believe I'll have enough to bring for that, but if anyone does have, I think the Red Brigadiers have those little crosses that are on single bases. We don't want these huge, but we're going to have 6 of those. Now, in this case, there is an attacker and a defender, and this is the one scenario, so whoever challenged the other player will play as the attacker, whilst the other one plays at the defender. The idea of the supply raid is there's a shit ton of supplies that have landed for the defender, but they've been airdropped in quite badly and are now scattered throughout no man's land. Okay, so both players, after setting up terrain but before putting your minis on there, will deploy alternating 3 objective markers each. Now, the objective markers, obviously the attacker can't deploy any in his own, but they have to be 6 inches from the table edge and 6 inches from any other of the markers that are already on the table. The defender is allowed to deploy 1 in their own zone. After all, these were theirs. Okay? Now, what you're trying to do, if you're the defender, is keep all of those objectives alive. If you're the attacker, you're trying to blow them up. So you can kill them by assaulting them, doing a normal, successful hit, then 9 to injure, and then basically you've blown up those supplies. They're gone. They're off the table as the attacker. So as the defender, you're trying your best not to let that happen. Now, there are morale checks on this, and if one side does flee the table before the 4 turns are up, the other side will be classed as a complete victory, so they'll lose all their chance of victory points. So whatever you do, try to stay on the table. Okay, now there are restrictions to the warband. Okay, both sides start with 6 figures each. These can be any figures from the warband, but the defender, due to the fact they're defending them massively, it's a very tricky scenario to defend in, you get 6 plus D3, so potentially 7 to 9 players you'll start with. Then on turn 2, you can both have D3 reinforcements. Okay, so that's how that works for the amount of minis you can take on there. Okay, and apart from that, it's literally, I should also point out, as well as assaulting them, you can shoot the objectives, but it has to be a weapon with the heavy keyword. So we're thinking things like, the Bomb Witch or one of Sarah's evil fucking Ophidian rifles, that sort of thing, but it's got to have the heavy keyword. Otherwise, shooting it doesn't do shit. Okay, and that's that.